you don't just need a relationship with them now. You want that to be ongoing. And when we say build relationships, not just a pipeline, this is your pipeline. Now we can take care of Bill's sister. Now the grandkids are getting older. Let's put a grandkid policy on them. Now, like, you become, quote, the insurance man for their entire family for generations to come. And that is the easiest and warmest possible lead you will ever have. And it's right there at your fingertips. Welcome back to another episode of the Life Insurance Academy podcast. Today, I am sitting here with my main man, Chris Ball.
Good morning, sir.
And we have some knowledge to bring you guys. We want to talk about and give you 10 quick tips that's going to help you sell more life insurance, that's going to help you go to another level, regardless if you're in the final expense niche or even if you're in the mortgage protection niche. This is a relationship business. This is 10 quick tips that we can actually move through to take them to another level.
Not 8 tips, Zach. Nay. Not 9 tips. Nay, Zach.
No.
10. 10 tips. So let's load up and fire away. You ready?
Oh, these are going to be fun. This is going to be fun. And some of them are going to be ones that you guys maybe already know, utilize. Mm-hmm. Some of them may be something that maybe you started to utilize in a period of time and maybe kind of drifted away. Got away from it a little bit. And some of these may be brand spanking new to you that you're like, wow, I can see that I need to do better in that area.
Looking for shortcuts.
That's at the end of the day, I think we naturally do that.
Yes, I agree.
And it's sometimes it's hard, or it takes somebody else to point out some of the shortcuts that we have already taken.
Yeah.
I know that was a huge thing for me that I would even notice, and the way I would catch it sometimes is we get in this rhythm sometimes of selling on our own. We get in a rhythm of continuing to follow the process, which is good, but sometimes we can drift away or get away without knowing. And one of the biggest things for me, Chris, that helped was when I was training somebody else. I had somebody in my car, when I was having somebody listen to me, it made me more aware of all of the necessary steps that they need to learn, and I would hit them just a little bit better. I would be a little bit sharper, and sometimes I would be like, wow, that part was a little rusty. I guess I've drifted away from that a little bit, and it allows us to kind of dial back in that process and move through.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point to start on. Maybe if you're an experienced agent who's going through a bit of a slump, ask yourself, if you were training somebody, how would you want them to do it? And if they saw you doing it, would you be doing it the way you'd want them to do it? Like
your old granddad, do as I say, not as I do.
Oh, granddad. And I think that's a good point. Jordan Peterson talks about it in his book, The 12 Rules for Life. Treating yourself as if you were somebody you were helping. So treat yourself as if you were training. You are the agent that you are training. I think
that's deep, man.
Yeah. There we go. Boom.
That's boom.
That's the end of the podcast. We'll catch you guys on the just kidding. We're going to hit our first point now. Very first one. First tip. Grab your crayons and your pencils. Know your products. Mm-hmm. Know your products. We talk about repeatedly a relationship between confidence and competence.
Yeah.
And how you, that when you know what you're talking about, it gives you strength. It gives you a position of strength to speak from. When you are talking to your client and you're uncertain about which product to apply for.
Yeah.
That's an issue. And that could just be an underwriting factor.
It could be. Mm-hmm. And there's another aspect of this, Chris, because when we talk about knowing your products, like it's not just the product or products or companies that you are selling.
Yeah.
To me, it's knowing your industry, knowing the niches, knowing that if I'm selling final expense and I'm selling to a specific client, if we took a random poll or random, interviews to these clients and we said, what do you think life insurance is? Name all the companies that you know and tell me exactly how life insurance works.
Geez.
What would their answers be?
They'd crawl under the table.
What would the companies that they would name,
Mutual of Omaha.
Right? It would be a lot of the AARP, the
Yeah.
MetLife, the Globe Life, the Physicians Mutual, a lot of stuff they see on TV, a lot of stuff they see in the mailbox,
Right.
a lot of stuff that's on advertisements all over the place. But we have to understand that this is their limited knowledge based upon their exposure. So we need to understand not just what we have, but maybe how a universal life works, because a lot of people, most of the people that have them, especially in the final expense market, have no idea how they work, and they don't even know that they have one.
Right.
So we need to know what questions to ask. We need to know how to explain that. Same with term life. Same with whole life. We need to understand not just the products that we sell, but the products that the client may be aware of.
And it needs to be in a language that they understand.
Extremely
There's
important.
a line you say, communicate. No, I don't know. I'm going to butcher it.
Yeah.
How do you say it?
So speak to them on
The level of their understanding.
not on our level of knowledge, but their level of understanding.
Yeah.
So if we understand so much about insurance, we don't need to sound smart. We don't need to use big words. We don't need to impress them.
I think people do it thinking it's going to buy authority.
They think they get credibility.
Yeah.
Wow, he knows so much.
Yeah.
No, it actually scares the client to death, right?
Yes.
And they're like, I will never understand this. This is too complicated product for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's extremely, extremely important.
And this kind of ties into the next one. I think you do a fantastic job of this, focusing on education, not the sale, not just the sale.
Yep.
There's a point where first of all, there's a lot of confusion for our clients. They're getting marketed to left and right. I mean, stacks of paper that they're receiving in the mail, and they don't even know where to begin. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important that we're able to, instead of backing the dump truck up and dumping all our knowledge, or however, the industry knowledge, it's more like backing up a pickup truck and handing them the pieces that are relevant to their life and the decision that they have to make today. That seems pretty important.
Yeah, and the cool thing is about this, Chris, it's literally clearing the clutter. And there's been in homes many times, which I know you have as well, but I've sat in the homes, and even if the best opportunity for the client was to not write a policy, right? But there's been many times where they've pulled out an insurance folder that was 4 or 5 inches thick, and they've kept everything they got in the mail, every receipt, old policies that are no longer active. They've kept everything.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And to be able to just simplify all that, get rid of all the stuffs that are voided out, that are no good, keep the essential documents, write a note on what to do with that, and leave them with them. We are essentially doing the same exact thing with how we educate our clients.
Yeah.
But we also can do that with organizing our clients if we're in the home still, or even on the phone.
And that is such a superpower in the home. And the crazy thing is, like, I've seen folks who had a binder and they had the policy and a replacement policy because they thought they lost the policy in the same binder, and that's what a headache. I mean, somebody finds that, they think there's 2 policies, their loved one finds it. They're hoping there's $30,000 and it's really just $15,000. So
it's just confusion and overwhelming. And I'd say one of the most important parts of this is, and if you think of any mentor or anybody that you respect, if somebody takes the time to teach you and you learn from them, you're automatically going to trust them a little bit more, right? You're automatically going to lean in because nobody has taken that extra effort. Nobody has volunteered their time to explain the different types of insurance rather than just explaining the benefits of a policy you're trying to sell, which is drastically different.
Are you ready to launch your insurance career? Excel Solutions is your go-to leader in life, accident, and health insurance pre-license training. Their cutting-edge e-learning platform is packed with rich content. Think interactive assessments, engaging videos, and customized learning paths, all tailored to your learning style. Being students ourselves, we've trusted Excel now for years to deliver top-notch training, offering high pass rates. Their streamlined prep review courses and the exam simulator are really your secret weapons to nailing the state exam the very first time. Now, you thought it couldn't get any better. Well, it just did. Life Insurance Academy listeners, you receive an epic 50% discount, reducing the regular course fee from $199 to only $99. So, all you have to do is use partner code LIA at liapodcast.org/Excel. Now, Excel spells XCEL. So don't think about it any longer. Dive headfirst into your insurance career with Excel Solutions' premier pre-licensed training with that exclusive 50% discount just for you. Get the code, get licensed, and excel in your insurance career.
Next up on our list is asking the right questions. And
This one you're an expert on, Chris.
I'm a question guy. I like the questions. For me, I'm a bit of a cat. I'm a little curious. You like the motions there? No, I am. I'm very curious
and nimble.
And I think I'm a pretty good, not nimble. I think I'm a pretty good listener. And when I hear things, there's usually when somebody's sharing something about their life or their policy or their interest in insurance, to me, there's usually a follow-up question. Like they're sharing something. I don't think they would have shared it if they didn't want to share it. And for me, there's a question that usually comes up.
True or untrue? Our clients are eagerly hoping to have somebody to tell their story to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I would say 100% of the time. I try to think of a different percentage.
Like they literally, they're bursting at the seams because they
even the ones who are standoffish.
That's the ones that are the most.
Yes.
Because you think about it, like they've been hurt, they've been wounded. It could have been a death of a loved one. It could have been a family member that mistreated them. It could have been something. And a lot of our clients, they have some health issues. They're typically in the final expense market. They're a little bit higher in age. And a lot of times they are kind of forgotten about or excluded, or they don't get a lot of somebody wanting to hear their story or have an opportunity to listen and help. And sometimes just giving them that ear and being interested and asking them questions to allow them to kind of get some stuff off their chest and have somebody just listen to them rather than their kids that don't want to hear that same story again. Yeah. It can kind of create a sense of relief and of understanding and a connection and a bond between you and them that then allows their brain and their heart room to take on new information. Of how we can then help them. And they trust that we're able to provide that support, which is really cool. And that listening aspect to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And like you said, the most important question is the follow-up question to the question you just asked. Like that listening portion unlocks everything for them. And it shows that you care more than anything.
And there's different types. I mean, there's relational questions. There's the stakes questions. Those are incredibly important, but I don't think you get to the stakes
questions.
Feed us
a couple of them.
Why is this important to you? What would it look like if? That's a big one. So what would it look like if if Jade is in the funeral home and they're asking her for a check and you didn't have anything in place? What would that look like? Mm-hmm. And it's not, there's a how does it make you feel to that follow-up question to that.
Right.
So I like the question, just quick overview. I like the question, what does it look like if this happens? Because it gives them a chance to describe it. I think a lot of agents, they will say, it probably wouldn't be great if Jade was in the funeral home and she didn't know how to pay for it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, I stole an opportunity for you to verbalize the need.
Or to even feel it.
Yeah.
To even understand it. The goal in asking those right questions is for them, probably for the first time, to visualize and paint that picture as if we're both hovering over the situation as ghosts and watching the family go through that devastating situation, watching the emotions, but there's no way for us to talk or to help them or to console our loved ones in that situation.
That's why I say it's like the ghost of Christmas future.
It really is.
Yeah. It's if you ever saw Scrooge, you know, it takes Scrooge into the future. He's looking into the windows and seeing what life is like afterwards. And that's really where our job is. And also the ghost of Christmas past. Those are those relational questions of finding out, who matters most to them, what the relationship looks like as you're moving through the process. But yeah, the questions are everything really in this process.
It is 100% of the sell.
And this next one really ties into this. Building a relationship, not just a pipeline. And that would include caring enough to follow up with your client, afterwards, of communicating to them on their birthdays, important dates to them, following up on an annual review. I mean, when you build that relationship, these are great opportunities for referral business. When they trust you, they're having these conversations with other people already.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And when if you think of it this way, our goal is to establish a relationship with them to where we're almost like a family. This is one of the most important purchases they'll ever make in their life. It's most likely the probably second largest or third largest purchase they'll ever make besides a home or a car. Mm-hmm. And this is the only purchase they'll ever make that they will not see or feel the benefit of when it happens. It's the only one. And to understand that you don't just need a relationship with them now, you want that to be ongoing. And it feels funny and it can be perceived as disingenuous if you develop a relationship for the sell and there is no follow-up. There is no check-ins.
Yeah.
There is no, hey, how's anything changed? Is there anything I can help you with? How's Bill doing? How's the grandkids? Did you get to see them this Christmas? Is there anything else you need? Like taking those personal notes, those little touches go a long way. And when we say build relationships, not just a pipeline, this is your pipeline, right? This is, now we can take care of Bill's sister. Now the grandkids are getting older. Let's put a grandkid policy on them. Now, like, you become, quote, the insurance man for their entire family for generations to come. And that is the easiest and warmest possible lead you will ever have. And it's right there at your fingertips. And it continues that relationship that's going to, keep the policy on the books, prevent them from asking any other questions or filling out any other lead forms from anybody else, which is beautiful.
Let's talk about this one, Zach. Using a needs analysis. What does that look like? Where do you see this being used, and what is the value?
Yeah, so when it comes to a need analysis, it can come of one of two ways. Number one, it can be in your mind, in your head, and understanding what we're moving towards. And what I mean by that, Chris, is when we talk about the different layers of need for a final expense client, we understand, layer one is going to be today's cost for a burial or cremation. Layer two, or the second need beyond that, is going to be the future cost of that. Typically, it costs more if we don't pass away today. We need to have enough coverage for when we pass, not necessarily today. So that builds value, adds a second layer of need. The third one could be debt or medical bills that occur because typically we don't pass away as healthy. And that's just three of them. Mm-hmm. But being able to, as an agent, to understand where we are with a client. And that can prevent a couple of things. Number one, if a client goes, oh, I'm good, I already have coverage in place, I have $5,000. Well, you said you wanted to be buried. Yeah, I got this 10 years ago, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, layer number one may be satisfied. For us as that advisor, as that agent, as that person that's looking at the full picture, Miss Betty's only 70 years old and the average woman lives to 80, 81.
Yeah.
Do we think she's going to need more coverage in that period of time? So now we're looking at this needs analysis and we figure out this is where the vulnerability is. And it goes well beyond that, Chris, because beyond that, we're looking at loss of income, because if they are a couple, right? Then we look at, being able to protect a mortgage or pay it off, what's going to happen if one of them pass away. So being able to walk through the different layers of need to understand where that gap and vulnerability could be extremely important. Number one, we always believe an agent should understand these different layers of needs. There's too many agents out there that are just trying to sell a $10,000 funeral plan. And if they have any coverage whatsoever, they're shut down. They move on to the next. They call the next person.
Or they immediately try to replace it.
It's never understanding and building value.
Right.
If somebody has burial insurance, now we're looking at the needs of life insurance. If somebody has life insurance, we're looking at the needs of burial insurance. The second side of this, Chris, is when you're looking more of in a mortgage protection sale or selling a general life, if you will. It could be clients that are, I would say, 55 or lower is really your target market for that. You can literally go through a financial needs analysis and look at, do you have a home? Do you have a car? How many years are left on your home? Basically, what is the vulnerability if I die now? And what is the vulnerability if I die later? To then going back to number one on this list is knowing our products. How can we satisfy both the temporary need and the permanent need in being able to really help this family not only now but in the future? And you're able to walk through those with a document, which is a lot easier when you're going through like a financial needs analysis. So you can also, and it's not necessarily for us to go, well, I already know all this, I don't need to fill it out. It works for them to look to see where the vulnerabilities in the income and some of the gaps might be if they were to pass away.
Yeah. And I refer to it as like being a doctor and determining a diagnosis. When somebody walks into the office and talks about a pain, a doctor's trying to, they might even manipulate your body in a way that makes you feel the pain just so.
Why do they do that?
Well, because they need to know where it's at and what the treatment's going to be. Yeah. And that's, I want to go back to the question piece just for this. Like whenever there is a policy, there's clarifying questions you can ask. A simple one is when you got that policy, when did you get it and what was the purpose of it? And that way you can determine if it was life insurance or if it was for final expenses, because they don't even know, in most cases, they don't even know the need. They haven't verbalized it. They just know something's not right here. I need more information. I need more ? And that's where we come in and help do this needs analysis. Yeah. Protect what needs to be protected. Because if Miss Betty's got $10,000 and she wants to be, even if she wants to be cremated, but she got that $10,000 because her daughter's helped her out a lot in her life, she hasn't even considered that 7 is going to be pulled out for final expenses. And
to piggyback on that, Chris, it's a great point. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of our clients, when they have, let's say, $10,000 that Miss Betty has, in her mind, she's using that $10,000 for everything.
Yes.
The $10,000's to be left for the daughter to say, I love you. The $10,000 is going to take care of the burial. The $10,000 is going to cover what's left on the car payment, because the daughter, they're going to give the car to the daughter when they're passed. Like that $10,000 is just used over and over again.
It's like the government. Just kidding.
But you're going to get us canceled, man.
Yes.
But it's so cool to see. It allows them to simplify and assign what the different coverage is going to be used for, so that when it's assigned, it reveals what's needed, which is really cool.
Good stuff. Let's talk about robots.
Ooh, okay.
We're talking about leveraging technology.
Man, this is so different, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, man. Back in the day when I used my covered wagon and my wheelbarrow,
Chris wrote policies in the Oregon Trail.
I did. And I had dysentery. A lot of people didn't know that. But yeah, technology, man. Now that we have CRMs. CRMs have been around for a while, but now with new automations and the efficiency to be able to work these days is completely mind-blowing.
It's a game changer. And you think about some of the fears of our clients, right? Number one, nobody's ever going to cover me. I won't get qualified.
Yeah.
Or the process is too daunting, too difficult, too long. And you just look at the advancements of EAPs alone in underwriting. We're able to get a decision, whether they're approved or not, in most cases, right there talking to the client within a couple minutes. We're able to get the policy submitted to the carrier, even issued the next day, or sometimes the same day.
Decision, usually.
With a policy number.
Yeah.
We have the ability for their coverage to be effective that day, that the moment you leave the helm or the moment you hang up the phone, if they pass away, they're fully protected. Like, we have the ability to provide that, which is unbelievable. We also have the ability to, not saying you should do this.
Time travel.
No, that was the second one.
Oh, sorry.
But quote multiple products and multiple prices across carriers and underwriting.
Why are you saying
all
that?
At the same time.
Good grief, man. Yes, I agree.
It's crazy.
The ability to do it is great. And I mean, from EAPs to pricing to the CRM and automations that are working in the background. I mean, whether it's marketing to clientele, whether it's growing an agency and recruiting, you can have automations that are working in your flows to stay connected to your clients, even with communications like we talked about, simple follow-ups.
Yeah.
Just checking in. That could be built into your system for 150 years.
And not even that.
That's
like
crazy.
Back in the day, it was either knock on every door in the world.
Or pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. Run leads, right? Buy leads, drop leads, mail leads. Now you can use social media marketing.
Yes.
You can just post videos on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, and you can generate your own leads. People contact you.
Yeah.
It's like everything has changed of how people are searching for this information or how to get help with insurance. The opportunity is endless. So that is a huge one there. Let's move to number 7, Chris. Handling objections with empathy.
Yeah. This is the thing I've learned in the sales process, and this took a little bit of time for me, was this is a human-to-human interaction. And it's hard to navigate the sales process in a way that's connected to another person if you don't understand where they're coming from. If you can't imagine yourself in their shoes and their experiences, understanding that some of them have had maybe been scammed, maybe some of them have had family members who've been scammed. Maybe they know people whose policies have not paid out, that there's this hesitation in play. I think it was Daniel Pink who did a study on what people think when they think of salespeople, and the word that described it the most was ugh. It's not even a word. Like slimy, like gross.
Yeah.
And we have to reframe that. And part of the reframing is actually putting ourselves in the position and seeing ourselves as they see us. That's a weird experience, important step.
Yeah, it's so cool to have that opportunity to, we call it a one-call close, if you will.
Yeah.
But we have to, like you said, have empathy, understand if it is an elderly client, you are talking to him on the phone. Like, we need to not take the shortcuts. We need to go those extra steps. We need to have those cool down processes. We need to have that full conversation, because we're going from them never speaking to us ever to talking to us for sometimes an hour. And having their social security number, being able to get their banking account information, them trusting us that we're sending them something through email, which they barely can open to begin with. And at the other end of that, hoping that they don't have buyer's remorse a day or two later, or talk to somebody else in their home or a neighbor that freaks them out, that makes them want to cancel that. So being able to understand that, and when you do get an objection, to not just bulldog it over and go through it,
right?
But I would say 80-90% of handling the objection is just making them feel heard.
Yes.
Not even like, oh, you say that, but here's the answer. It's just understanding. I understand where you're coming from with that. I would feel the same way. Or, just being able to not freak out, not react to that is everything.
Like an example would be, they're not going to say it's too expensive. They're going to say they need to think about it. And this is what you and I know, is if you have a principled sales process, you're probably going to eliminate a large majority of your objections. Like for me in my sales process, my client will know in my sales process that I know affordability is important to them. They're also going to know that their affordability is important to me.
Yep.
And that I'm an expert at working with people on fixed incomes. I've helped thousands of clients do this. So we aren't going to pick anything or find anything that's going to make them uncomfortable, or as you say, that's going to make them consider whether they can afford Christmas presents or birthday presents or things like that.
And I'd say one thing that you do extremely well is making them feel that you guys are in this together.
That's the empathy part.
It's you and them together.
Versus the world, Zach.
Trying to get them approved for the insurance company. So words like let's or we or we're not going to, like just including you in their family, including you in their bubble to be able to help move them to a better position is crucial.
Yeah. Now, if you're sneaking up to the bed and saying, hey, guess what? We're going to find something. Don't do that. That's creepy. But good level of empathy is a good thing. Other opportunities, this would be the next one. Pay attention to other opportunities that could come up.
Yep.
We would say cross-selling. This is a fantastic one. A lot of our carriers that we work with have grandchild riders for the policy.
Yep. Or policies themselves.
Yeah, or policies themselves. The reason I point out the grandchild one is there are instances where there are special needs children who cannot get coverage. They've thought about it, but they won't mention it to you. They won't even mention it to you. But if you hear it, you have a responsibility to mention it to them.
Usually you only hear it if you're asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because once you attach that grandchild, especially a special needs grandchild who couldn't get coverage before, to a policy, they give the policy in for 2 years. The grandchild can actually, it can be removed as a rider and it can become the grandchild's lifetime policy.
Yep.
Like, holy cow, what an opportunity. And a lot of times we're just focused on getting the sale in the moment when there's other needs. I guess that's pay attention to the other needs that are available that you can serve. It's
also very important for us to remember as the agent that, life insurance is based upon your age and your health. And if Miss Betty is wheeling and moving forward to get a policy now, don't you think she wished she would have got this 20 years ago or 30 years ago?
Yeah.
But guess what? She's getting this for a reason. Her kids are that 20 years younger, right? Don't you think she would be a major advocate for their daughter getting something in place that's locked in at the price and age and health of 20 years younger? She will do the selling for you. You don't even have to worry about that. If she had that opportunity to get this 20 years ago, do you think she would have done it? Every client will say, oh yeah, absolutely. Now, how old did you say your daughter was? Is this something that we need to look into for her? Because I know you have grandkids as well.
Yeah.
And this is going to be important to her at some point. We want to make sure she gets this locked in at a very good price. Yeah. You have that. You have the grandkids. They usually have brothers or sisters. Typically, in the final expense world, they live in the same town. And they come over quite often because they're on disability or Social Security, retired. So they're typically pretty close, or a neighbor or a close friend that are in and out all the time. simply asking, who else do you think we could help with this, can go a very long way, being able to do that. But also other things, looking at potential opportunities for segmenting the sell and looking at annuities, looking at maybe health products if you're licensed in that. But you also remember that you may think, well, no, not my clients. But if their parents, if they're getting a policy now, your clients are in their 60s, their parents may be in the 80s, they may not be a perfect client for you to write a policy on now, depending. But if they passed away or recently passed away, they could have inherited some money. They could have inherited a life insurance policy. They could have inherited a home, right? That maybe they're selling. It could be another state. There are opportunities that if your clients know in the different ways you're able to help them and you've done a good job of earning that trust, there's a lot of cross-selling opportunities to be able to kind of expand your product offering.
Yeah, very good. Two away here. We got staying consistent with getting in front of people, staying consistent with prospecting. This is a big one. There's a learning curve to a sales process, and the thing that's a challenge is a lot of times we see agents who are short-circuiting the learning process because they're not talking to enough people. You have to have conversations, and they can't just be role-playing conversations. You've got to get in the game and have conversations with real people. And in order to do that, you have to have leads. Now, maybe you can't afford leads because, when we have a lead conversation, it's time or money, and you don't have the money. So that means if you don't have money, you have time. I don't care what you say. You have time. That would mean having conversations with your warm market, printing out a direct mail lead and going and knocking in a trailer park area, telling people who you are and the service you offer and offering to do free presentations so that they're aware of what's available to them. Something that gets you in front of people, learning the skill set you need to be successful in this, because it's not going to be overnight. I don't care who you're talking to. It's not $500,000 in your bank account in 3 months. It's not going to work that way. You're going to have to learn an entire process.
Yeah, and I would add to that what we just talked about, the agents that are a little bit more seasoned, that maybe have learned to fill up their pipeline a little bit more. They've learned to have relationships where they get repeat business for those same clients. They've learned to cross-sell other products and other family members. Sometimes that can make them feel that that's all they need to lean on, meaning they reduce their lead order or they maybe stop their lead order and they just try to stick to just that cross-selling and just those other opportunities. And overall, their skill set improves, their questions improve, their relationships improve, but their activity goes down because of it. It's important to be able to keep that generating that pipeline, because initially where those conversations started, where we had the initial point of contact, that then we can branch off and cross-sell and use their warm market and go into that. It generally starts from some sort of lead source. So highly encouraged that the activity, the daily goals, the calls, the dials, the leads, the investment financially and time-bound is extremely important, but just fill that pipeline up with adding that additional skill set, and it will really change everything for you.
We did it, guys. We are on the last one, number 10.
Number 10.
And I feel like this is the one that's probably the most important, that gets overlooked the most, but it's believing in what you're offering. If
you're struggling selling, it's probably because of this.
Yeah. Do you have a policy? You have it. Jonathan Henderson's been on this podcast several times. I introduced a new product to Jonathan. Okay. I know Jonathan has 7 policies, at least 7 policies. And he said, yeah, I'll write one on myself. I was like, dang, kid, how much life insurance do you need? And he said, I never sell something that I don't own, including product. On product, I was shocked. Like, yes, I have term, I have whole life myself. And I don't think I have one from every carrier that I sell, but for this specific selling concept, he does. He owns every policy that he sells. That's pretty impressive.
It's a different level of conviction and belief and understanding, and that transfers directly to the client.
Yes.
When they're, it's a car salesman that drives a bike to work, right?
Yeah.
And you're telling them about why they need this. But it's being able to, they can kind of borrow some of that trust and belief in you because you're in the same boat they're considering being in, about the company, about the product, about how it works. And they have you that has the same thing, that has seen it work. You're almost test driving it for them. And there's nothing better than doing that. And the way you can speak to it, because you're also not going to buy anything that you don't know how it works.
Right.
So even if you buy it just so you can kind of geek out and figure out exactly all the ins and outs of it, that's going to allow you to be able to help the client and really find that niche for it.
Sadly, I've seen and heard agents who have passed away who did not have life insurance.
Yeah.
And I have seen families scrambling to pull off a good funeral, to take care of the kids now that they're gone. Like, the kids are now living with another family member and there's no funds at all. And
if it's not that important to you, it's not going to be that important to them.
No, absolutely. This is, I mean, we could almost turn this upside down. Number 10, believing in what you're selling. This has to be where you start, and it may take some time to grow into, but I want you to, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Covey. He talks about beginning with the end in mind, and that's where we all need to start, including where our families are going to be left with. That's what's called a legacy. So that starts with us. Mm-hmm. And then that's what we can transfer to other people as well. But you have to start with the end in mind, not the very beginning of this, of just trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, this is
10 things.
It's 10, man. This has been fun. I
had the time of my life, Zach.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Hopefully there's a couple of these that maybe that you do religiously. There's a couple of them that you used to do that maybe you could do a little bit better.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a couple that maybe you don't currently implement, but if you do, it could help you.
This is a cornucopia of good ideas, of good advice. Cornucopia. The wrong season for it. But let me review some of these. Know your products. Focus on education, not just the sale. Mm-hmm. Ask the right questions. Those could be relational. Those could be clarifying. Those could be stakes questions. Build relationships, not just a pipeline. Use a needs analysis. I just wanted to say that one. Fun. Leverage technology. Handle objections with empathy. Be smart about cross-selling, looking for need. Stay consistent with your marketing and your prospecting. And above all else, believe in what you're offering and what you're selling.
You can't do no wrong if you do these.
Let's do it. We'd love to hear from you and your adventures out there in life sales. We really dig the comments. You can comment below. Smash that subscribe button. Actually, get a callus on your finger from hitting that subscribe button too much. Looks like you play guitar. But thank you guys so much. We can't wait to see you on the next Life Insurance Academy podcast. See you then.